Pastor George here for My Guns and My Religion with a Second Amendment update. And this one's pretty unusual. First of all, as a citizen of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I would like to apologize on behalf of all of us to the rest of America for electing Senator Pat Toomey. Senator Toomey recently co-sponsored a bill that was brought before the Senate that would have introduced new gun control legislation. I'd like to play for you a clip now of the President of the United States and his reaction to its defeat in the Senate.
It represented moderation and common sense. That's why 90% of the American people supported it. But instead of supporting this compromise, the gun lobby and its allies willfully lied about the bill.
You know, after watching that and hearing the president say that people who support the Second Amendment were somehow, I don't know, lying about things, I thought about that 90% of Americans support new gun control legislation. And it was really sticking in my craw for the longest time because no one could ever tell me where he got that 90% of Americans from. Just last week, a poll was released by Fairleigh Dickinson University in New Jersey. Now, Fairleigh Dickinson is fairly liberal, if you want my opinion. And this was released on May 1st, 2013. Let's talk about science for just a moment before we go into the poll itself. This was done by a recent survey done by Fairleigh Dickinson University's Public Mind. It was conducted by telephone from April 22nd to the 28th, using a randomly selected sample of 863 registered voters nationwide. One can be 95% confident that the error attributable to the sampling range has a plus or minus 3.4 percentage points. The margin of error for subgroups is larger and varies by the size of that subgroup. Survey results are also subject to non-sampling error. This kind of error, which cannot be measured, arises from a number of factors, including, but not limited to, non-response, question wording, and the order in which the questions were asked, and various variations amongst interviewers. So it sounds like they did a pretty thorough job. Very, very interesting to read about it. By the way, you can find this online. You can download this. So it was 863 registered voters. And this is what they say. Overall, the poll finds that 29% of Americans think that an armed revolution in order to protect liberties might be necessary in the next few years, with another 5% unsure. Really? So even if we took half or so of the unsure, that'd bring us up to what, 32%, something like that, 32.5%. That's a third of all Americans, Mr. Obama, that believe that an armed conflict, a civil war, is going to be necessary in the next couple of years in order to protect our rights against a tyrannical government. You say 90% of people want new gun control legislation. But this poll from one of the most liberal colleges in the United States says that a third of all Americans are ready for a civil war and expect one to happen. The poll also goes in and talks a bit about people wanting more gun control, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And more than 50% say that they do not. Mr. Obama, rather than saying that the powerful gun lobby is lying, perhaps it's time for you, sir, to start telling the truth. You claim to be a Christian, although that's a claim that I really would like to see some evidence of. But sir, if you are, I would remind you that bearing false witness is a sin. Well, that's about all I've got for today. Keep your powder dry. Mola Nabe.